not only there, at night.
I was living alone on the ground floor of an apartment building. My living room windows faced the small parking lot for the building, which wasn't gated. I'd stay up late watching TV or playing games almost every night. It was winter when I first moved in, so I'd have the blinds down at night to keep the cold air out. Summer came and there was no AC in the apartment, so I'd open the windows and blinds at night for cool air. One night, I'm lying on the couch watching TV when I get the feeling of being watched. I looked over at the window, and a man had his hands and face pressed against the screen, merely 3 feet from where I was lying, just watching me. I let out a blood-curdling scream, and he did not even blink. Terrified, I jumped up and grabbed the phone and screamed that I was calling the cops. He still just stood there, completely motionless and dead-eyed. At that point, I yelled that I'm getting the neighbor and started walking to the door. He finally took off. I locked the window and stayed up all night, completely on edge. My boyfriend at the time came over and stayed for a full week. He made sure to leave the blinds open and sat at the edge of the couch closest to the window to make it known I wasn't always alone. The creeper didn't show up again, so eventually I got comfortable thinking it was an isolated incident of some rando wandering around the parking lot to break into cars. Maybe another 3 weeks after that, I get home late from waiting tables and park in the lot. I get changed, grab a snack, head to the living room to play some games. I start to raise the blinds to open the windows and let in cool air. The creeper is standing right there with his face pressed against the screen. He was not standing in the parking lot when I pulled in, as I parked right by my window. I can only assume he was waiting around the corner of the building, watching me come home and timing my movements. This time, I grabbed the phone and immediately called the cops. I was shaking, crying, completely hysterical. The creeper takes off. Cops come and said they'll have someone patrol the block when they can, and my boyfriend immediately comes over. He wants to stay with me until I get out of there, so I start looking at different apartments. Another 3 to 4 weeks or so later, I have an apartment lined up on a high floor in a dormant building, because at this point, F that. My boyfriend had to go out of town for a few days, so I decided to go stay at my friend's place, because I certainly wasn't going to be there alone. I'm at my friend's place for 2 nights, but I wanted to run home and grab a few things I'd forgotten. She goes with me for obvious reasons, and we go into the afternoon, not after dark. We decide to hang out for a bit and play games together because it's daylight and there is activity around the building. No AC, so I hesitantly raise the blinds to get fresh air. I'm terrified at opening them, then laugh to myself because I do it, and of course, no one is there. I open the actual window and see 2 large holes cut into the screen right above the lashes you push in to lift it. They were definitely not there 2 days ago. My blood ran entirely cold. The creeper knew my boyfriend was gone. He was watching and saw his car was gone. I left my car there as my friend picked me up, and we always left a light on in the living room to make the creeper think we were awake. So he saw my car, thought I was home, saw the light on, yet proceeded to cut holes in the screen to break in. I have no idea if he actually gained access, but seeing how bold he was terrified me. How long had he been watching me, learning my patterns, and getting gradually more aggressive with every interaction? I still sometimes get a chill when I raise my blinds, and it took me a long time getting comfortable with living in anything else but a high-rise. Thanks for the lifelong PTSD, creeper. Let's not meet again. My fiance, 27 male, and I, 23 female, are soon to be married and are remodeling an old family home. We started working on the house about 2 or 3 months ago. My fiance bought a bunch of tools to use on the house to renovate. The house had been sitting with nobody in it for over a year. Keep in mind, the house is located in a fairly rural area, a few houses and trailers here and there, but not too much traffic. We have a rodent problem and have been setting traps to catch them. 3 weeks ago, my fiance went to check the traps, and we had a rat that was alive. Long story short, he didn't want to take care of it, so he left. I got off work at 9 p.m. and went over to the house to take care of the rat. It was raining, and my mom and brother came with me. I went to the back door. It was wide open, and water was blowing into my house. I was pissed. I thought my fiance had left the door open. I shut it and finished my business there. I asked my fiance why he left the door open, and he claimed he didn't. I called BS and left it at that. It didn't occur to me that somebody had possibly made a quick getaway. Fast forward to today, my fiance went to our house to throw a whole bunch of trash and stuff into the dumpster we rented. When we went inside, we immediately noticed that some things were missing, drills, sanders, etc. We realized they had been stolen. We call my mother-in-law and tell her about it. She says make a police report. What scares me so much about this is that everything began to click with the rat trap incident. Somebody has been scoping us out. I would go to our house by myself on many occasions and always had the creeps and felt watched. My little brother even remarked that he felt watched there and asked if we were sure nobody was there while we were gone. I noticed today that I was there alone and that my dog was acting very nervous and suspicious. She wasn't running and playing like she usually does and didn't want me to go to the backyard or wooded area. I'm glad I trusted her and my gut feeling. I don't know if the thieves were there, but I'm glad I didn't find out. We are currently in the process of installing cameras. This had to have been somebody that lives near us and can monitor how often we are there. So to the person or people that broke into my unfurnished home, let's not meet, ever. Update. So we did catch a car pulling in like it was scoping the place out. The people inside never got out, but they left. We asked a few of my fiance's family members about it. That was to our detriment. One of them went and spread the word that we have cameras, and somebody in the neighborhood who owned the vehicle that we caught on camera slipped up and said they already know a few things that had been stolen, which to me is basically a confession because we hadn't told anybody about the robbery until the incident with the car we caught on camera. So now more than people than necessary know, and we probably won't catch the person who did it. We still turn the footage into the police though, and maybe they can dig up some background info. This happened to me in 2010. I was a college student at a school in a big city, which unfortunately wasn't the best part of town. At the time, I was living in an off-campus apartment that didn't have dedicated parking spots, so I always tried to park my car along either side of the building under a street light. However, on this particular day, I was only able to get a spot on the street behind the building. Around midnight, I left my apartment to drive to my then boyfriend's house in another part of the city. He was a musician and was just getting home from a gig, hence the late night meetup. I hated being outside in the city alone at night, but I hadn't seen my boyfriend in a while and thought I could quickly make it to my car without issue. To get from my apartment to my car, I had to walk out the front door of my building, turn the corner, walk alongside the building, which was the length and width of a city block, and turn down the back street where my car was parked. All in all, this should have taken no more than a couple of minutes. As I turned the corner to walk alongside my apartment building, I see a man walking directly towards me. He immediately starts calling out to me and saying, "Hey, hey," but he's far enough up the street that I think I can make it to my car before he makes it to me. I quicken up my pace, so does he. He keeps calling out to me saying, "Hey, can you help me? I'm homeless and I need to get home." Obviously, that made no sense, and the closer he got, the more I could tell that he was drunk, on drugs, or both. He was getting closer and closer to me, all the while calling out to me and asking me for money to get home. When I suddenly realized that I couldn't make it to my car before he would make it to me, so I stopped dead in my tracks underneath the streetlight on the side of the building. I always walked with my keys in my hand so I'd never be stuck digging around for them at an inopportune time, much like this one. And thanks to my mom making sure I was always safe in the city, my keys were complete with a keychain of mace. By this time, the guy was a foot away from me, aggressively asking for money and telling me he needed to get home. I told him I had no money and couldn't help him. He moved closer until he was inches away from me. I picked up my mace, and in that moment, the streetlight shone on it perfectly, so this creep saw it and backed away. To this day, I swear I had a guardian angel watching over me. This guy could have grabbed me, snatched my purse, or gotten violent, yet the mere sight of my mace was thankfully enough to spook him. He quickly walked past me down the street, and I sprinted to the car and sped away, completely shaking. Needless to say, I never ever walked in my car alone at night again. One of the most frustrating parts of this encounter that it happened within sight of city surveillance camera that wasn't functioning. A few months prior to this incident, someone tried to break in my car. When I called the police to ask them to remove the surveillance, they told me the cameras in that area didn't work and hadn't for a long time. So there was no way this guy would have been caught either, which kept me constantly on edge. So much so that I moved out of the city entirely a few months later. So to the homeless man who courted me for money to get home, let's never meet again.
I'm back. Boom.